What's going on, beautiful people? We are back again with another Mental Max Out podcast. I'm your host, Akeem Robinson. And for those of you joining us for the first time, thanks for checking it out. Mental Max Out is all about helping people change their perspectives, think differently, and get out of the hole. If you're back again, I celebrate your willingness to continue growing and challenging your mind. Remember, if you like what you hear today, make sure you hit that subscribe button or whatever platform you're listening from. Share it with a friend and follow us on social media at Mental Max Out Podcast. So we got something new going on today, and hopefully it's something that we continue for a little bit and a long time. The brains behind everything, the one keeping everything on track, my beautiful wife, Allison, is going to be on this show and hopefully on the other ones, just because we love doing things together and we love where it can go and just giving people different perspectives of hearing from two different sources. So, hopefully this can still continue to push you and move you in a different kind of way. But let's just jump right into it. So what do you got for him, babe? What are you thinking out there?
Hi.
Yeah, man. I mean, so
it's a big week for you.
Huge week.
Huge week for you.
Yeah, I mean, to finish up the dissertation
and submit it.
I was nervous. I'm not gonna lie. When I hit submit, I was very nervous, and like a breath of relief came over me.
Same.
So I felt really good, but then now I'm in this like weird stage.
Okay.
Because I know there's gonna be corrections, but when are the corrections gonna happen?
Because they haven't emailed you back yet.
They haven't emailed me back yet.
So they could tell you to redo the whole chapter again.
Hopefully,
not to like.
Hopefully not.
Not to put that in your energy, but.
But yes, they can tell me to like redo the entire chapter. They can say they didn't like a section, pages, and I don't know until they send it back. So there's this. I have to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also waiting for potentially good news, if there is any
news,
and what are my next steps. So I thought that would be a good thing to talk about today.
Well, I think it's funny because, for those of you that don't know, we have been dividing and conquering, taking care of Serena while Akeem has been finishing up this dissertation, because what we didn't know 4 years ago was that when he started, he would be doing his last year with a newborn baby. And so he started the dissertation process at the same time Serena was born. And honestly, it's been harder than taking care of a baby, like getting to this point.
You might as well say we have two kids.
But. I mean, the dissertation is one kid and Serena's the other kid.
No question.
Getting this dissertation done has been the ultimate parenting teamwork adventure for us. And Serena was down for a nap the other day, and usually Akeem will go in the back and write while she's down, or I'll take Serena for a while and he'll just, say, hey, can I go in the back and write? So the other day, Serena went down for a nap. I was laying there watching reruns of One Tree Hill, as I usually do when she's down for a nap. And he was like, what are you going to do? And I was like, I'm just going to probably watch this for a little bit. What are you about to do? For the last year and a half, that answer has been, I'm going to go in the back and write. I saw this thought go across my husband's face where he really didn't know what the answer was going to be. When I said, what are you about to do? Because he was so used to saying, I'm going to go in the back and write, that now that he doesn't have to do that, while he's waiting at least, he didn't know what to do. And I feel like that happens to a lot of us when we finish a big project and we're like, hey, that was great. Okay, awesome. Now what? Or we reach a career goal or get to a point in our life that we've been working towards, and then we get there and we're like, okay, cool, the view's great. Now what?
It's such a journey though, right? Because you're climbing this mountain of trials, tribulations. There's a goal up there that you put up there and you're like, I'm going to get there. Come hell or high water, I'm going to get there. And when you get there, you're like, cool. And then you got to somehow either go back down or find the next one. And a lot of people, like, including me, I didn't think that. 4 years ago, we were walking around the park talking about the dissertation, and there was no like, well, when the dissertation is done, it was just 4 years ago.
I feel like it's good to have loose plans and ideas, and I think that you and I have talked a lot about that as you finish up this PhD of, what do you want to do next? But I think that when big life changes happen, it's good to not necessarily lock yourself into something again, because the race of doing this dissertation and this PhD over the last 4 years has really limited a lot of your availability, a lot of your bandwidth, a lot of your mental, your physical. And to go from that into something right off the bat, I think would burn you out really quickly. Not saying you don't love what you're doing and you love the research, but to go from finishing that into another very committal project, I think would be really hard. My mom, hey mom is retiring this
Plug.
year. Hi mom. She's retiring this year, and she's in California still, and we keep giving her a hard time because we want her to move closer to us. But she said something really profound to us a few months ago. We were on the phone with her and we were trying to get her to move to Florida, and she said, I'm not going to make any big changes in my first year after retirement. And it was so profound, because I think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of people jump from one big thing to the next big thing. And some people are wired that way, and that's great. But I also think that process can be really overwhelming.
Not only can it be overwhelming, but I think the huge thing about a big project is you feel like you have to be in one. I don't know. I don't know if you're like me, but like, I feel like we're living in a time where if you're not doing anything, you're not productive. If it's not huge, pressure filled, something that makes you sweat, then you're not adequate. And there's this constant balance of that, right? Of you're juggling life, you're juggling figuring out yourself, and oh yeah, let me pile on this huge project just to feel like I'm doing something for who? It's so crazy because I've been so invested in this paper that when you asked me that question, for the first time, I really was like, oh, rest is a choice? Mm-hmm. And that was the craziest thought in my mind. And you said earlier, having loose plans, but I think also having a time for rest.
Yeah.
When you do accomplish what you set out to do, give yourself a time to rest, because it is needed. Like you just said it. Not just me, but we spent 4 years into this season, and it doesn't make any sense to say, okay, on to the next big project that's going to take another 4 years. It might be a couple weeks. It might be a month or whatever, but giving your body, the family, your loved ones, or the people that have spent that time around you time to rest, I truly believe helps you have clarity for the next place you want to go.
Firing up the Xbox.
Oh, trust me. The Xbox is about to be on like 10, because it's about to be on and popping until my eyes bleed.
I think you said it, and you said it last week or the week before on here, but you said, social media makes us feel like we're not doing enough. And I feel like that's true in this case where, okay, the biggest question, the number one thing that people ask when you tell them that you're almost done with your PhD is, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do? Or like, what's the plan? And I feel like it's so ingrained in us and I know for me, I'm very task oriented. So I like having a task. I like having something to do. But when you have that question of, okay, so what are you going to do with it? When you go to college, what are you studying? When you're graduating college, where are you going to work? What's next? And I think that when we're constantly being faced with what's next, we forget and we have a hard time finding peace in just being content with, hey, I just completed something awesome. Hey, I just did something great. I'm going to live in this for a moment and celebrate this and enjoy this moment, and then I'll figure out what's next. And that's totally okay.
And you said it. Just in even that, you said it. What's next? I feel like that word is so powerful because it robs us of like these moments, right? Think about it, like when we were kids, we were like, I can't wait to be a teenager. Mm-hmm. Then when we were teenagers, we like, boy, I can't wait till I get to college, or I can't wait till I hit this age. And then there was always these next milestones. And I'll never forget that, like, the day I told people I wasn't working anymore, the first question was, what's next? Mm-hmm. And not just like, oh man, okay, like how's your family doing? Or like what it was like, they wanted to know what was the next page you're going to turn to.
Because there has to be a reason. Like, you have to be jumping from point A to point B. You can't just be like chilling in the boat.
No, yeah.
Like, resting.
Yeah, because like.
Not saying we get much rest. We have a 1-year-old, but.
Oh, tired all the time. Tired all the time. Both of us. But it's okay to rest. One of the biggest things I try to educate people on is you're not a failure. You're not behind. You're not off track by resting.
I was just working on this project for work today, and I'm going to do a section on rest and recovery for these presentations that I'm doing, right? I'm speaking to a population that is of shift workers who they, have broken sleep because they go from night shift to day shift. So if you're a law enforcement and nurse out there, like, you can totally relate to this because your sleep is really hard to get normal sleep, and you have insomnia, or you can only sleep for 3 hours at a time or whatever. And so I'm doing this whole thing on how you rest without sleeping. And that sounds like a crazy concept. And you and I have gone back and forth about this for a really long time because you are a serial napper and I am a serial rest my eyes-er. I feel rested when I just get off my feet for a second, turn on the TV, or scroll for a moment, or find passion in cooking, go for a drive or whatever. Like, I feel rested when I unplug my mind and I can do something just totally mindless. Like, then I feel rest without actually sleeping. You, on the other hand, feel rested after you've taken a 5-hour nap. 3 to 5 hours.
Come on now. That's my sweet spot. She said it right. Y'all heard her. 3 to 5 hours is my perfect nap
And then you feel rested and you're like, okay, I can go. I can do anything I need to do. I'll never forget it. We started dating and, we were still in college athletics at the time and you were still coaching. And I'll never forget it. You said, I know that I can go
45 minutes.
That's all you needed. Like, you could work a 15-hour day as long as you had 45 minutes of sleep. And I thought that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, because I am like, give me 8 hours every night, benefit if it's 9. Last night, I was literally probably 10 hours because I was so tired. It's just different. And so how do you find rest if you're like me? It's, what is it that you like to do that's mindless? Is it, like he talked about last week, is it a puzzle? Is it crafting? Is it doing all these different things? But also, like, if you're like him, where can you get that sleep? And how can you just enjoy sleeping? Because as you've been writing this paper, you have not been sleeping. You went to the gym for the first time today since...
It's been a while. It's been
beginning
a few weeks.
Of July.
Yeah.
And not for any reason other than the drive there takes 20 minutes too long.
Minimum 20 minutes.
Yeah.
What you said was so cool because you have to find the rest that works for you. And not only do you have to find the rest that works for you, but even when you're in a relationship and you're with someone, y'all both have different ways of resting and recharging your batteries. So that has to be communicated too. Come on now. There's been times where I'll look you in the eyes and you can barely keep your eyes open. And I'll say, hey, just go in the back and just get on your phone for 10 minutes and come out when you're ready to, like, be around me, Serena, or just whatever.
But for the first year and a half, it was go take a nap, go take a nap,
go
take a nap.
Oh, yeah. And you were like, bah, humbug. I'm not doing that. No. But, you really have to communicate with yourself first to know what kind of rest you need. But you also need to be able to communicate with your partner and say, hey, I know you feel rested when you do A, or I know you feel rested when you do B. So I can take this task or thing that we're doing and get you some rest, because you cannot be at your best when your gaslight is on E, you know what I mean, to use that analogy. And that's the thing, we get so caught up into trying to check off boxes and trying to hit the mark that we're draining ourselves. We're getting tired. And if you don't rest, something is going to get sacrificed. And if it's not your job, it's your relationship. Someone is going to get sacrificed because you have that goal in mind. You want to accomplish it so bad that guess who's going to suffer? The family, your loved one. And so you have to know what fits for you. Self-discovery is one of the hardest things we'll ever have to do because our attention is always being asked of someone, something. And so it's very hard to reflect. It's very hard to look in yourself and say, I like to do this. I need this. And the only times we start to learn that about ourselves is when we interact with other people. And so the first time we really get to start to know what we like or what we don't like is most of the time in relationships. And those relationships can be friendships, family, but the bigger ones come out in your significant relationships with, husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever, because you are being pressed and leaned on every day by someone there. So internally, you then have to address what you like or don't like because they're always in your space. And society has like highlighted it even more now because when you go to social media, guess what you're seeing? You're seeing other people's relationships or what they're telling you, or you're seeing how other people deal with things. So it's giving you a sped up version of, am I doing that? Or am I living like that? When it comes to rest, it's an internal thing because you need to figure out what you need. And when it comes to figuring out what you need, sometimes we're behind and we don't really know that. And so we have to ask. We truly have to ask the other person, like, how am I presenting myself in this situation? Am I cranky? Am I different? Is my energy off? And so then that person can give you feedback on the spot.
Like how sometimes cooking is stressful for me, but other times I love it and it's relaxing.
And it's like when you told me today, when you were like, hey, babe, like you can cook this. And then you started telling me, but you need to add this, add this, add this, add. I was like, babe, you need to walk away from me. You were like, I just learned that I can't watch you cook because I was like, go in the back and go rest. Do what you got to do because I'm okay. And so I think you have to internally figure it out, but sometimes your partner can help you get to that quicker. Does that make a little bit of sense? When we started dating, did you know what kind of rest you needed?
I didn't need rest.
Because I'm a machine. I don't need rest.
No,
battery is on 100%.
I think it was really hard for me at the time to, and I can say this now, in my early 20s, I can say that I didn't understand rest because I was in a career field where rest was going home and going to bed. Like, quite frankly, I was working 14, 15-hour days, and so there was no rest. And I didn't think that working out was rest. I didn't see the hour and a half of my day that was in the weight room, like working out, spending time for myself. I didn't view that as rest at the time. Now I look back and I'm like, oh, that's how I made it. That's how I made it through those 10, 15-hour days because I took that hour and a half to myself, decompressed. Even though physically I wasn't off my feet and resting, I was mentally removed from work to be able to go back into work in a better place. I learned that was a way that, I guess, a coping mechanism or whatever you want to call it, where I was like, okay, but I didn't learn that till years later. I didn't learn that till probably we were maybe in the pandemic, because on the flip side, there was nothing else to do but work out. I got plenty of actual rest. But I needed to go work out to just do something. The laid back, down low lifestyle was not for me.
I know, you drove me nuts. Beginning of the pandemic, I was like, woohoo! Because I was like, I get to sleep. That thing lasted for 2 days. You were like, I can't take this anymore.
I remember it was probably, I was going to Florida. He was in Florida at the time. I was still in New Mexico. And I was going to Florida because his GA was getting married. And so I was going for the wedding. The wedding didn't happen, and neither did the rest of the school year. Neither did a return from spring break. Neither did a lot of things for a lot of people. And so I ended up in Florida, and for 3 months until I moved to Louisiana, we were in marriage boot camp.
Oof.
And I loved the time to just chill and spend time because, we had been long distance for 8 months. And so it was so great. But every day he was like, yo, we're going to work out tomorrow. Yeah. We're going to go, well, just whenever we get up. Well, that lasted about a week. And I was like, we need to set our alarms. We have to go at this specific time or I'm going to lose my mind, because that just was what I was used to and what I needed for my sanity. I didn't need more rest. I needed the opposite. I needed the structure. I didn't need to take time off necessarily. I needed some semblance of normalcy and structure. And I think that that's another reason why people jump from one thing to the next, is because they crave that structure.
But also, is it safe to say that in craving structure, your rest will change? Because, like you said,
Mm.
when you were in the beginning stages of your career, you used working out as rest. You now had a plethora of time to work out, so you needed to find more or a different avenue to rest. So your structure had to change because of the
Yeah, because
circumstance.
we didn't need to leave the house. So, like, we would leave the house to go work out, and then in the afternoon, we would go walk around the lake. Why? Because we needed to leave the house again, and everything was shut down. But I was so conditioned to leave the house or be out of the house. And even now, you have to remind me now, if I've been in the house for 2 straight days over the course of the weekend, or maybe I worked from home and then I was home all day Saturday, like, you have to remind me, hey, get out the house. Get out of the house.
Because your rest has changed. And I know that you stepping out the house will give you a clearer mind,
Mm.
and it will give you a better perspective and just make you a better like mom, and just make you just feel better. Whether it's walking around, going for a jog, I'm just like, hey, babe, get out the house for a little bit, because we all need rest. But that structure changed, and I had to learn what your structure was too. And like you even will tell me, you're like, hey, go in the back and take that 3 hour nap. Take as long as you need, because we had to learn each other's structure for what they needed for rest. I think the cool thing is when you think about rest and patience and how you look at that and like saying, going to the next thing, I think it's a constant self reflection, because they're always changing. Like whatever you needed for rest this year, I guarantee you will probably change in 2 to 3 years, because your life changes in 2 to 3 years. Like responsibilities change, positions and jobs change, like they just change. So you have to always constantly be checking in to say, do I need the same kind of rest? Do I need the same kind of structure? Or do I need the same kind of patience? They're always constantly having to be filled, if you will, to like make you get even enough strength to go to the next thing.
Okay, I have a thought. So you're in this period of time right now where you're waiting for the feedback on your paper, right? If it was me, I would be waiting for this feedback, and I wouldn't be able to rest because I just am waiting. I want to know what they're going to say. I'm already probably psyching myself out and changing things. And I'm sure a lot of people feel that way, versus the flip side of that is, well, I'm waiting. Ain't nothing I can do about it. I guess I'll just rest. Is one better than the other? Is there a happy medium? Like, how do you rest when you are waiting for something?
I think that's a great question. And for me, when I'm thinking about this paper and I'm thinking about resting and waiting for something, on one end of the spectrum, there isn't anything I can do about it. But on the other end of the spectrum, I am thinking about it. So I'm not gonna lie to you and say I'm not thinking about it. But there's still the overhanging thing of I can't do anything about it. So what I'm doing is saying, well, how can I help the team now? What can I do now? And so for me, I'm not trying to do anything with my paper or things that we've talked about, those projects, because I want it to be a finished product and I don't want to change anything drastically that will affect that. So for me, I put all of that aside and I'm resting there, because I don't want to touch it, because I don't know what's going to be changed.
You did everything you could do.
I did everything I could do, but that still doesn't take away from the fact that I'm thinking about it, but I'm still resting in that cup, if you will.
Okay.
So the cup that I'm deciding to pour more into is you and Serena. And so
I like that.
so I'm gonna pour more into you and her until they say, okay, I need this, I need this, I need this. And then I'm gonna say, okay. And unfortunately, like I said earlier, something will get sacrificed. There is no sweet way to put that. And what is being sacrificed is you and Serena. And that's why I'm so thankful for you, because you allow me to do that. So I pour more back into that cup while taking some out of yours. You see what I'm saying? And that's kind of, to me,
Okay.
that's how I would suggest you do it. What cup can be filled right now, because you can do something about it.
And you can't do anything about what you're waiting on.
And you can't do anything about what you're waiting on. But that's still not going to stop the fact that you're thinking about it. But the more you pour into other cups, it will take away some of the worry, the fear, the what ifs, because I don't have those, because I'm doing something else. And the something else that I'm doing isn't this pressure of having to check a box, this pressure of it has to be a certain kind of way. It's just what we do on a regular. It's kind of like when you asked me, how do I feel? And I was like, well, technically, I kind of feel very similar because this is how I would go about doing things. But I cooked earlier today. You know me, I like to cook at night because I've written all I can today. So I just want to cook at night because it's ready. But today I cooked during the day. So I had time for it.
Yeah.
So that's what I chose to do,
Because you didn't have to write. And did you feel rested?
I did. I did feel rested because I wasn't thinking about my paper, and it made me feel good about the fact that I learned to cook something new in the kitchen. I felt good that there was food in the fridge, that we didn't have to worry about that, and it made me feel good in that time. And so for you listening out there, understand that when you do sacrifice something, it's not a bad thing to do that. It's just you have to look at it and say, what's important? Can I really do anything about this right now? And if you can't, then it's okay to push that off to the side and hit pause on it, because you're just going to worry about something you don't have an answer to right now. If people are asking you what's next, be very honest and just tell them, I don't know right now, but I'm working on me to try to figure that out. Being open and honest with them of just like, I don't know, will maybe frustrate some people. It may press some people to ask you more, but at least you're giving them an honest answer. Go to other people in your circle, because if you're going to those people in that particular area of your circle and what they're doing is pressing you with more questions you don't have answers to, that can be frustrating. So what I like to do is when I hit walls, I like to go to people who I can bounce those ideas off of. They're asking me more questions to make me dive deeper, because that's what I need. Instead of going to my friends where I say something and they're like, well, what's next? So if you're feeling frustrated right now, I would say be very honest with those people who are pressing you with questions that you don't have the answer to, but also go to different people in your circle. And we've talked about this, and I'm going to keep talking about this. And even if you don't know who those people are in your circle, now is a great time to go through your phone and say, who are my good friends? Who are people that I trust? And it's a good way for you to reflect.
It's okay to not know the answer. I think it's okay to not know the answer to what's next. I think it's okay to feel rested, not know how to feel rested, find rest when you're waiting for something big that could be happening. And I think that, like you've said it before, babe, like your journey is your journey. Whether it's the people asking you what's next or the people you see on social media are the ones that are going to make you think that you should have answers that you might not yet. And so finding your support system and the people who can help you figure out what's next, taking time to rest and reflect on what you really want to do, but also enjoying being in that moment and celebrating, the victory of what you've accomplished. I think, when you do walk across that stage in December, it's going to be a celebration, being able to do that in December and celebrate your graduation and your birthday and Christmas and, all types of stuff, and just spend time living and experiencing the journey can give you fresh perspective and clarity as you move forward to decide what's next.
I love that. And for you guys listening out there, climbing that mountain and accomplishing that goal is huge. And when you do that, you feel so great. And for you doing that, congratulations to you. But on the flip side, when you do that, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to pause. And it's okay to just stop for a second to gain some clarity and give yourself a newfound perspective of where would you like to potentially go. Because you don't have to answer what's next, but it's good to at least give yourself some options. Thank you for joining us on this exciting episode of Mental Max Out. We hope today's discussion has empowered you with the insights and tools to overcome the challenges of depression, fear, and doubt. Always remember that you have a support system on this journey, and every step you take is a step forward towards victory. If you found this episode helpful, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. We greatly appreciate your feedback, as it allows us to continually provide you with the content that is most valuable to you. Stay connected with us on Instagram at Mental Max Out Podcast for a constant source of motivation, helpful advice, and a supportive community. Until the next time, keep pushing forward, and remember, you have the strength within you to max out your potential. Take care and stay strong.